Now, before we even get started, this is going to be a follow-up video to a video I dropped a couple hours ago entitled Black Woman Says Biracials with Black Mothers Are More Black. Now, before I even get started, I got to give a disclaimer by saying I'm not here for the light skin versus dark skin debates. When I speak about this topic, I'm speaking from a historical point of view on how this has been used as a method of conquest to destabilize and penetrate and overthrow the societies that black men have built. I don't get involved in, dark skin versus light skin, who's better, blah, blah, blah. That's childhood schoolyard shit to me. I'm speaking about how black men must understand how certain things repeat themselves over and over and over and over in society, similar to how today you will see that Chinese men are going to the African continent and having children with African women, and those children will grow up and potentially might enter a position of power one day and might end up destabilizing and penetrating certain levels of society on the African continent, and those mixed race Chinese African babies most likely will end up doing the bidding of the Chinese government. Now, when I speak about these things, I'm not speaking in terms of light skin versus dark skin, black versus mulatto. I'm just speaking of the historical fact and the patterns that you'll see throughout history. So I'm giving that disclaimer before we even get started because, my channel is about unity. I'm not here to, pit anybody against apart from anybody. That's not what I do, man. But I am going to spit the facts, and we are going to tell the historical account exactly how it happened. We're not going to cut no corners. We're going to tell it straight how it is, straight up and down. So let's get into it, man. Let's go. Yeah, we back. Now, this video is going to be a follow-up video to the one that I dropped a couple hours ago entitled Black Woman Says Biracials with Black Mothers Are More Black. Reaction. Now, today we are going to give a brief historical background on some of the, the most legendary mixed race double crosses throughout history, right? And I don't feel anything about these men either which way or the other. I'm just going to explain how mating and getting into relationships and having children with black women has been a very effective tool that our enemies have employed to pretty much topple our societies and conquer us militarily and economically and politically. So let's get into it, not wasting no time. Now, when you talk about mixed race traders, when you talk about the mixed race double crosses, when you talk about it, man, the biracial with the black mother, you got to put at the number one, at the top of that list, you got to put Jean-Pierre Boyer, the black man who, after the Haitian Revolution, agreed to pay billions and billions of dollars to the French slaveholders. But guess what? These were his family members. This was his fathers. These were his uncles. These were his godfathers. These were his grandfathers. These were his cousins. So at the end of the day, you'll notice when we examine the history of the biracial with the black mother, you'll see that there's always that longing. There's always that need for acceptance. There's always that, trying to be like daddy, trying to get daddy's approval, trying to, you know what I mean? That's natural in all men. That's natural in all men. These things go beyond race. The man that you look up to as a father figure, you are going to want to be like him. You are going to want to seek his approval, and being seen as a disappointment in the eyes of that man would devastate you. So it's no surprise that throughout history, you'll see that our mixed race brethren with the black mothers, they've constantly always been doing the bidding of their European families. Now let's get into it, man. As we all know, Jean-Pierre Boyer, born in Port-au-Prince, was the biracial son of a French tailor and an African mother, a former slave from the Congo. He was sent to France by his father for his education. During the French Revolution, he fought as a battalion commander and fought against Toussaint Louverture in the early years of the Haitian Revolution. So as we can see from a young man, he fought in the French Revolution as a teenager, even as a young boy before he even reached adulthood, already doing the bidding of his European father. Oh my God. And he fought against Toussaint Louverture. Now let's get back into it. He later allied himself with Andre Rigaud, also of mulatto ancestry, another mixed race man with a black mother. Oh my Lord. In the latter's abortive insurrection against Toussaint to try to keep control of the southern region of Saint-Domingue. So as we can see, Jean-Pierre Boyer, he burst onto the scene already doing the bidding of the Europeans, trying to chop Toussaint's head off, and then he failed and had to go into exile. And he came back with the French expedition in 1802. Now let's read some more. After going into exile in France, Boyer and Alexander Pétion returned in 1802 with the French troops led by General Charles Leclerc, Napoleon Bonaparte's brother-in-law. After it became clear the French were going to try to reimpose slavery and restrictions on the free gens de couleur, the mixed race brothers about to be in the chains too? Oh, hell no. You know what I'm saying? So then they joined the Patriots under Pétion and Jean-Jacques Dessalines, who led the colony to independence. And one thing you'll notice, man, this was pretty much the order of the day during the colonial era, man. You know, the closer you were to European, pretty much everyone was pretty much going to take that deal. You know, everybody was trying to get as close to European as possible. Nobody was really trying to live under the harsh conditions and the harsh restrictions and the marginalization in society that the blacks had to go through. If anybody could avoid that, they were trying to avoid that. You know what I mean? So this is why I had to debunk that chick in the last video, man, because certain things are just too egregious to be allowed to be penetrated into the atmosphere. You have to stomp on that immediately, man. But let's get back into it. Number 2 on my list of mixed race double crosses, it has to go to Mr. Alfred Dodds. You know what I mean? Alfred Dodds, commander of the French troops in Senegal from 1890, commander of the French troops in the 2nd Expeditionary Force to suppress the Boxer Rebellion, and commander of French troops during the 2nd Franco-Dahomean War. As both a quadroon and a métis, he was famed in the African diaspora at the beginning of the 20th century as an example of African leadership. Oh shit. From 1892 to 1894, he led the conquest of Dahomey, one of West Africa's most powerful pre-colonial states. Now hold up. So as we can see, you know what I mean, the mixed race brother up on the screen, you know, he was responsible for pretty much the current stranglehold that the French government has on the western coast of Africa, and it has maintained since the late 1890s. So at the end of the day, yes, he was frontline doing the bidding of the white boys in Paris. So as we can see, another example of a mixed race man coming out of the womb of a non-white woman. You know, you notice that the white woman didn't birth all these traitors, man. Number one, I'll tell you why it doesn't work in reverse. Imagine a black man trying to penetrate, for example, the British royal family. Because of the dominance of our gene pool, you can't really, you know, link up with a white chick out in Europe and then break into a elite family, because you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb, my man. You're gonna stick out like a sore thumb. It's gonna be that one light-skinned brother in the back with the afro. Everybody gonna be looking around, and it's not gonna make sense to nobody. Whereas in reverse, because of the recessive traits of, you know, some of our opponents, some of our competitors, yes, it's easy for them to mate with a black woman. It's easy for them to pretty much get in cahoots with a powerful family, elite family, marry into that elite family, and have their offspring blend in with the members of that family and actually get into a position of power and able to function as a puppet and do the bidding of outside forces and topple that entire society from the inside out. So it doesn't work in reverse for us. You know, we can't do that, you know, due to the dominance of our genes. It's not going to work in one generation. Whereas in reverse, the Europeans, even the Asians, you'll notice that that is also happening in the continent of Africa, where Asians are going to Africa, mating with the African women and creating mixed race children that maybe not might end up in positions of power later down the line in future generations. So if I would say one benefit there is to having recessive genes, yeah, they can slip and slide right into your gene pool, right into your family tree, and then place themselves and their offspring in the position of power, and you won't even know what hit you. You don't know what happened. So yes. You know, black men, we got to be on our guard out here in these streets, but most of y'all not really thinking that deeply anyway. So it is what it is, man. I would say the earliest example of this occurring would be how the pharaohs of Egypt went from looking like this to looking like that. And for those of us that study black history, you'll notice that this is a common theme. This is a common method of conquest that have been employed by outside forces against us. All right. It is what it is. I know we love bragging on our quote unquote dominant genes, but at the end of the day, man, listen, them recessive boys got a couple tricks up their sleeves. But let's get back into it. Next up on the list of mixed race double crosses from the colonial era, it has to be said, Alexander Pétion. You know, listen, if you guys have been following my series in my playlist section that's entitled, I mean, the history of Haiti. I mean, we got the most powerful black man of the last 500 years. We got memoirs from the Haitian Revolution. Listen, I cannot really fit the amount of traitorous activities that Alexander Pétion has been involved in. You know, the assassination of Dessalines, the assassination of like 10 other generals in the army. The fact that just like Jean-Pierre Boyer, the #1 double crosser, who actually ended up paying reparations to French slaveholders, you know, millions and millions of dollars, just like him, he was active in the insurrection, the rebellion against Toussaint Louverture. He was fighting against Toussaint Louverture. They lost in 1799, had to go into exile in France, came back in 1802 with the invading French army, looking to put the entire enslaved population back into slavery. And then, of course, once he realized that he himself was also going to be put to the sword by the French army, he switched sides over to Dessalines and joined the rebellion. Only for a few years later, he would assassinate Dessalines and try to take over the government. And as we know, Jean-Pierre Boyer, the #1 double crosser, was his protege. After he died, he was appointed by Alexander Pétion as the successor. And he was the one who sold out the government and agreed to pay the reparations debts of France, a debt that we paid for over 100 years and that has crippled our economy and sent us into a cycle of never-ending poverty. So we have to, you know, I really had I really was taken aback by that video that girl posted saying that biracials with the black mothers are more culturally black or whatever she said. That was that was a flagrant video to put up, man. And to have her face attached to that, to have her face attached to such low IQ nonsense. I really feel bad for her, man. But let's continue. Next up, we got to discuss a book that I'm sure some of you are already familiar with. Just look up on the screen: Daughters of the Trade, Atlantic Slavers, and Interracial Marriage on the Gold Coast. In the second paragraph of the description of the book, you'll see it says, although interracial marriage was prohibited in European colonies throughout the Atlantic world, in the Gold Coast slave trading towns, it became a recognized and respected custom. Cesare, or keeping house, gave European men the support of African women and their kin, which was essential for their survival and success, while African families made alliances with European traders and secured the legitimacy of their offspring by making the unions official. So, black men, as we can see, our opponents, those who have conspired against us throughout history, have employed the wombs of our women to penetrate our societies, penetrate our families, and supplant themselves into positions of power to secure their economic and political success. So, when people come to me talking about love is love and, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't be hearing none of that, bro, because I have the historical record. I know what it really is. People can't really play me for a fool, man. But anyways, let's continue. Next up on the list, we have Thomas Alexander Dumas, a Saint Dominican Creole general in revolutionary France, along with his French contemporary, blah, 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 blah. Thomas Alexander Dumas is notable as a man of African descent, in Dumas's case through his mother, leading European troops as a general officer. He was the first person of color in the French military to become a brigadier general, blah, 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 blah. Born in Saint-Domingue, as we know, present-day Haiti, Thomas Alexander was the son of a French nobleman and Marie Cassette Dumas, a slave of African descent. He was born into slavery because of his mother's status, but his father took him to France and had him educated. Once again, debunking that lady in the last video, again, that somehow if you got a black mother, you're going to be culturally black. No, white man going to scoop him up, send him straight to Europe, and he's going to be educated in the ways and the customs of the white men. Now, let's continue. Slavery had been illegal in metropolitan France since 1315, and thus any slave would be freed de facto by being in France. His father helped him enter the French military, and as we know, once you enter the French military, you are doing the bidding of the French government. So yes, his father pretty much turned him into a puppet for French geopolitical interests. And that goes her theory, once again, debunked, of how somehow the biracials with the black mothers were the ones that were more pro-black. Man, listen, that was a very embarrassing video for her to put out, man. She should delete that video, but it's too late because it's already alive, spreading all over the internet, so it is what it is, man. In summary, though, I'll say this, though. In my opinion, because young boys have the habit of trying to live up to the image of our fathers, trying to become like our fathers, you'll notice that the mixed race sons, the products of a black mother and a white father, you'll see that they usually tend to be the sellouts. You'll notice that they tend to usually be ready to sell out the entire revolution, sell out the entire nation, sell out the entire cause, just so they can do the bidding of the European fathers, uncles, brothers, cousins, grandfathers, etc., etc. And you'll notice that the mixed race women, I noticed, at least the ones on the French colonies, they tended to gravitate towards the black man for various reasons that I've discussed in other videos that I've covered regarding Haitian history in particular. But in my opinion, mixed race women gravitated to black men because the black men that were leading the revolutionary struggles, I believe they thought that in that society, they would be given a different role to play, outside of the paradigm that they were stuck in under European colonies. Which pretty much didn't grant them much rights or freedoms or prestige or success or respect in that society as well. A society that black men were trying to build, trying to overthrow and build a new one. I believe that they were more gravitated to that. And plus, the black man was coming through, just smashing on the white boys, marching on them, decapitating them. So, the women were drawn to their masculinity, man. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? When Dessalines and Christophe and Toussaint came through, you know what I'm saying? How could the women resist, man? How could the women resist, man? You know what I'm saying? Coming through on the horse with the sword. It is what it is. The women was gonna flock. Yeah, the women was falling over their feet trying to get to Dessalines and Christophe and Toussaint Louverture. Yeah. But it is what it is, man. At the end of the day, I'll say this. Throughout history, we've always had to watch the mixed race with the black mother. It is what it is, man. It's nothing against black women personally. It's just historical fact. But at the end of the day, we even had Barack Obama, and he had a white mother. And we already seen what he did on the African continent. We already seen what he did to Libya. We already seen what he did to the Sahel region. The reason why the Sahel is so unstable right now is because Mr. Barack Obama came up in there trying to knock Gaddafi off. And now the blowback from that is now the Sahel region is full of so many little roaming bandits and terrorist groups. So at the end of the day, even Barack Obama, but he was raised primarily under the leadership of his white mother. So it was really no different than the colonial era biracials that were raised under the leadership of their European parent, their white father, because Barack Obama's black father was not around. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was primarily under the care of his white mother, and his African father was, I think, somewhere in Kenya or something like that. So, you know, at the end of the day, the son especially is going to follow the leadership set by the father, the head of the household, the patriarch of the family. Period, point blank. Period, point blank. Now, if the father's not around, that's another story. Then you get Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying? Then you get Barack Obama sending in the troops and destabilizing the entire Sahel region still to this day. Those African countries that are in the region of the Sahel are still fighting against those roaming bandits and those terrorist groups that are the results of the mission that the United States and the Western Europeans sent in to overthrow Gaddafi. So those people still have to live with that every single day. And, you know, Barack Obama, we got to add him to the list of the mixed race double crosses that were raised by the Europeans. You know, you notice a pattern. You notice a pattern, man. You notice a pattern. So at the end of the day, to any of the brothers listening to this video right now, and if you already might have a mixed race seed with a non-black woman, man, you better be in that child's life. I tell you that right now. You better be in that child's life. You better be an active father in any way that you can. I'm not playing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not playing no games, bro. I'm not playing no games. As men, we set the rules, the parameters, and the cultural markers for the children to follow. So if we are not there to enforce those rules and those standards, then they won't be followed and the child might end up going a different path. So me personally, that's why I stay within my little boundaries, man. You know, I stay rocking with my black women only. Even though my black women, you know, so many of y'all just so airheaded, man. I'm sorry, you know. I understand. Listen, I was in the same classrooms as y'all, but listen, I did my independent research and my independent studying outside of school. Y'all got to do the same, man. Y'all got to do the same, man. Y'all always bragging about these degrees, but we got to understand these Western curriculum classrooms ain't teaching us nothing but garbage any goddamn way. So please, sisters, listen, I only rock with y'all, but y'all make it so hard, man. Y'all make it so hard because this society has really dumbed y'all down in a major way. But I still love y'all and I'm still rocking with y'all. But damn, y'all got to stop saying bullshit. It's your boy Neferkari the Salim back in the building, yes indeed, and I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left on a horse and came back in that ass, and I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applauded. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas, falsifying information. No, they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching me blocking my vision. Pay for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young Money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage, I got business. This is an art and they could never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you ain't caught. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so elite. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with brands cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and get smack in their faces.